Hello, everyone. This is Wednesday, April 8th, 2015. My name is Lycan, and this is the Late Game, episode 22. With me, I have three awesome guests, TotalBiscuit, Maynarde, and InControl. Yes, I now realize that Maynarde and InControl are in the wrong spot with their names, so I'll fix that. Anyway, TotalBiscuit, this is your first time coming on the show. Very happy to have you. How you been?
It's pretty bad, honestly, but better now. That's the main thing.
Hey,
not been a fun year, all things considered.
No, but you did just get some pretty awesome news.
Yep. CT's clear, so you fuckers ain't getting rid of me yet.
Good. Definitely glad that you're going to be sticking with us for a long, long time. Back with the show, we had them last week, Maynarde and InControl. InControl, how have you been? How was your weekend?
I mean, you asked the guy who recovered from cancer about his weekend, and he's like, well, I beat cancer. And like, Jeff, how'd you do? Well, I got DDoS attacked, and we managed to stop that from happening.
I was just waiting to say, well, I beat Imperial Fists. I'm
yeah.
Like, that's not the same, you know?
Basically the same thing as far as if everything's to be valued the same. No, this last weekend we did was that this weekend? God, time is either fast or slow. The Mortal Kombat launch was really fun for me. I'm not, I'm a StarCraft guy, but doing other games is exciting and fun and different. It's what?
MK. I cannot wait for Mortal Kombat 10.
Bro.
That's gonna be. I love Mortal Kombat 9 was fucking awesome, absolutely fantastic game, and 10 is looking really, really good as well. So we'll see if that turns out to be good. What was
X-rays. What's that?
What was your overall impression of it?
Yeah, it's incredible. They added story. Well, they didn't add. They had it in many of the most recent Mortal Kombat, dating back like the last 10 years or whatever. Story mode, which is usually a big waste, but they actually did such a phenomenal job with it that it intrigued me and everybody else who was watching it. And I'm really not like I got to get Mortal Kombat 10 for story mode, but that little bit of extra playability is really fun. They have a play mode called Test Your Luck, which is obviously
that was in 9. That's the best.
Yeah.
Equalizer. If you're like a good player, and then you can go up against like some random guy, and it's like you have no arms anymore, and your head fell off, so you only get to use kicks. Also, every 5 seconds you set yourself on fire. Enjoy.
Exactly, and I think of it's that, and that's exactly what the dev said. Or, in my opinion, it's also like a party mode because you can't take it serious. Some of them are ridiculous, and the favorite that we found. What's that?
It's completely unfair. It's fantastic.
Yeah. It's so stupid sometimes. But the one we found that we really liked is DJ Wheat and I played in a small room with the lights going in and out. There was tornadoes and there was portals randomly opening. And he was Scorpion and I was Devora, so he would throw his spear, pull me over, fall in a portal, drop over here. I'd get hit by a tornado, and the lights are going in and out, and all you could just hear us going like, ah, ah, ah. So it was really awesome. But the game itself is obviously, it's gorgeous, it's fun. I love the characters. They're adding a lot of new ones, which I think is a pretty bold move. It's really good. So we did that launch, kind of pre-launch thing, which was really fun. And other than that, just some Warhammer. I've got a couple tournaments coming up. Going down to San Diego for the Broadside Bash, and then I have a local tournament at Endgame. And I actually just met someone, a local. There's a cutie girl there, and she recognized me, and so I'm starting to be seen in that gaming world now too, which is really cool, really fun. She took my pictures, what I'm saying. It's really weird.
Not enough to be famous in one space. You've got to take over everything else as well, don't you?
And I see everyone saying my mic's blowing people out. I don't know if that's on my end.
Apparently you're really, really quiet for everyone, Jeff, so I just want to up it a a little bit more. You'll be
Am I normal to you guys, or is it just level?
No, you're actually really loud.
It's really loud, yeah.
I'll push it further away from my face, but I don't know. Is this better?
Yeah. All right, cool.
This is good?
Yeah.
Delicious.
All right. So, Todd, this is your first time back since, I think, episode 1. How have you been?
I've been good, man. I just came back from WCS, and it was some pretty long days, but a lot of good games. And
It was a great show.
Some funny stuff happening. Kyle Harris broke down, and
half of me
funny.
says that was a really cute moment. The other half of me says, you unprofessional hack. Stop with the giggling. What's wrong with you?
Clarence is always overly professional, though, so I feel like he's allowed that one moment.
Yeah, he's allowed that just that once, yeah. It was pretty damn funny, I'll admit.
It was funny.
I feel like if
Shout
anybody...
Fred was pretty funny though. They're like, shout out for having the guts to just break down and laugh. It's like, guys, Claris isn't doing this as a professional move. It's just sometimes the giggles get you. Like, but it's just funny.
Yeah, I feel like anybody who would have been next to him, like you, I don't think anybody could have helped it, but started laughing too, and it happened to me. I muted most of it though, like you can't really hear it on the VOD, but yeah, it's been an eventful couple of days.
What was your reaction, Todd? Like as this is happening, what were you thinking? Are you like, Jesus Christ, man, we're live? What were you thinking as it's happening?
Yeah, when he started laughing, I was like, "What is he for real? Like, is this gonna continue much longer? Like, or is he gonna stop and come back in this?" And then after a while, I realized he was gone, and I looked at him, and he had like tears rolling down his eyes. And he was just laughing hilariously, so it started making me laugh as well. And then it was just the beginning of the end. If you watch the VOD, there's like 20 seconds during which nobody's speaking. And it's funny because on one hand I was laughing, but on the other hand I was like really mad in my head. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, be professional, stop laughing. That's
kind of the constant state of Todd though, right? Like the anger and happiness colliding together at all times.
Yeah. You know, that bipolar side of things. Tangling with each other. No, it was, I don't know, it was fun, but at the same time I was a little bit upset, but because I didn't know also how everybody would react. Like I didn't want to be called unprofessional. I'm the guy who always like makes it a point to always show up on time and stuff. So thankfully the community reacted nicely. They liked it, and I wasn't given any, you know, bad comments about it or anything.
No, I think it was taken pretty well. All right, and Maynarde, you're back again from last week, up an hour earlier now with daylight savings time. So I really, really appreciate that. How have you been?
I've been well, man. I have not been playing a whole lot of Legacy of the Void because I've been I work full time and I study when I'm not working, and I also have I live with a girl, and that's like 3 huge time sinks right there. So it's pretty tough to play much Legacy, but I've been watching a lot. Definitely caught a lot of WCS. Was up late all weekend. It was great. Amazing show.
Good.
So yeah, I mean, other than that, it's been business as usual.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna get right into it, and let's see. I'm trying some new stuff with the screen. I'm trying to do a little bit more professional broadcast. So bear with me, guys.
That'll not break at all. It'll be fine.
XSplit is it. If I do it too many times, like I have a limited number of times I can change the screen before it shits on. So we'll try to keep that to a minimum. But anyway, we're gonna kick it off with WCS. Johan, you were there. You got to see it firsthand. What was your overall impression of the foreign performance at WCS this weekend?
It was pretty impressive, to be honest. You know, guys like Showtime and Bunny really delivered. In the end, Snoot just lost to Bunny. So I was really happy with, not just the results themselves, but how they played across a lot of games. Mm-hmm. Even Firecake. Like Firecake, if you think about it, he lost twice to Polt in his group. But then there was another tournament because the Gamers Assembly, like the place where the tournament was, WCS, it's actually a massive, DreamHack-ish, obviously smaller tournament where you can bring your own computer and play in tournaments. Firecake in that tournament, he beat everybody. Like he beat, I think it was Lil Bo, Marine Lords, and True as well in the finals. And usually that tournament is funny because every year 4GG comes and wins it. This time he wasn't playing it because he was in WCS, but there was another Korean that needed to be taken down. And this time finally Firecake stepped up and beat him in the finals. So I think it was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm very happy with the level of some of the foreign players these days.
What did you think of Bunny and Polt's match?
I was really surprised at how Bunny, handled it all together. And I really thought like he had a very good chance to win. It would have made me very happy if he did. So yeah, just looking back on it, like I'm very proud of Bunny and the way he played it, in general, even like in terms of mindset, being this deep in a tournament and in a matchup that's supposed to be his weakest by far, being able to play this well, I think it was just one of the great things that we saw in this tournament.
So going into looking at the foreign players, and then you had the Koreans. You had 4GG, you had Hydra, and you had Polt, right? And these very big, prominent players that obviously going into it as a foreigner, you're going to be a little scared of. How much do you think, we'll shoot this to you in control, how much do you think that knowing that you're a foreigner, knowing there's the stigma, and not just the stigma, the proven track record that Koreans are much better at StarCraft, how much does that play into the the best of 3, the best of 5 when you go into those rounds?
Well, I mean, I think Todd is the more recent and successful foreigner pro, but I think from my own experience and what I know, like, I don't think that factors in at all. They don't think about themselves like, well, gosh, that's a Korean and I'm a foreigner, so it's expected that I'm just going to lose. They know they're at a disadvantage based on what player it is, and that could be a foreigner or a Korean. It just so happens that 99% of the Koreans they're going to face, they know they're at a disadvantage, and it's more just about, like, a pro gamer is more just concerned with winning the match. They're not thinking about the stigma or anything like that. Like, if it's a best of 5 and they're down 0-2 handily, the voice might creep in their head that's like, well, they are, Polt, and you are lowly but ex-foreigner. Mm-hmm. This was expected. Like, that voice will come into your head, I guess, but not the...
So there's no, like, I'm this close to the finals, I could be the foreigner that takes it? That doesn't...
Oh, specifically that? I mean, that's the really successful good foreigners. Generally speaking, they'll tell you that thought does kind of creep in their head, but at a minimal, the really good players remain focused on the match. And that's why, like, if you think back to even, like, Stefano's matches and stuff like that, he looked bored or just kind of, like, absent-minded when they took pictures of him in the booth and stuff like that. Like, he's not sitting there like, oh, God, I'm about to win this whole thing. Holy cow, and I'm going to beat this Korean and be in the finals. And as a foreigner, it's such a big deal. They're just like, no, here's what he did this game. Here's what I know he likes doing this map. Here's my strategy. Like, they're just thinking about the series for the most part.
Okay.
The bad players like me, like the few times I've come close to beating a really good player and being at the top of a turn, which has only happened a couple times, obviously, it does creep into your head. You're like, holy fuck, this could change history, and then it doesn't. So that's how it goes.
Yeah. To rain on the parade somewhat, I mean, it's worth noting that outside of Violet, who basically bombed out of Group C, foreigners beat foreigners, and the only reason why we didn't have a top 3 Korean was because 4GG ran into Polt in the round of 8. And I think Bunny's performance against Polt was obviously fantastic, but I think there was one other one that was really good in one of the group stages. I think it was actually, Showtime beating Hydra in the round of 32. Actually, it was Morrow beat Hydra, which was just, like, interesting. I don't think many people expected that to happen. And then Hydra popped up again in the last match and beat Morrow 2-0 in the standard foreigner curse of, here's the foreign hope, oh, it's a duel tournament, so you're going to lose in the rematch. But outside of that, like, you still got a lot of foreigners fighting foreigners, which is a bit unfortunate because I don't think they really get a chance to exhibit a great deal of skill. Hydra sliced his way through the round of 8. I mean, he 3-0 TLO, 3-0 Showtime, and then you had a really great final between Hydra and Polt. But it seems like we still got the same bloody problem that we had in last year's WCS. It's the Korean's going to win it. It's just which one.
Yeah, no,
that's classic TV, by the way. I just hype the foreigners a little bit, then he comes in, he's like, nope, they're shit.
On you. Well, statistically, the foreigners, the showing was good against other foreigners, but against Koreans, about 90% of the matches they lost. Like,
it's tough. It's been a tough period of time right now where foreigners, like, it. Slasher will be quick to remind you on Twitter how long it's been since the foreigners won a meaningful tournament. And, like, Snoot's done it a couple times over there. But, like, the big ones like WCS and stuff like that, it's been a very long time. And it's funny because this convoluted argument comes up every time where, like, when Bunny was in that Game 7, I'm not a particularly huge Bunny fan. Like, he's a great guy, great player, nothing to take away from him. But as a Protoss, I guess, and no ties to him, I don't particularly root for him. But in that series, I was like, holy shit, go Bunny, because that would be so much more to me as a viewer.
Sure.
And even someone so immersed in StarCraft, it's just more interesting to me. I want to see Bunny take on Hydra. Polt versus Hydra was interesting on a skill level standpoint, but I think part of the problem is that we're spoiled with that. Like, you turn on Pro League, you turn on GSL, and now, last few years, you turn on every fucking tournament ever, and you're seeing top Koreans face top Koreans. It's far more rare and interesting to see a legitimate foreigner face a really good Korean in a meaningful match that is also competitive. Like, a lot of times we've had, it's like, oh, Huck, this guy's won a lot of big tournaments, facing off against Polt or Hydra. Boom, 2-0, it's over. And it's like, and it was like a backhanded, get the fuck out of here. And you're like, oh.
Like, just a nice little reminder, crap. Like, just reminder of who's on top here,
Yeah.
I think the problem, some people have said that the WCS changes have been great. I'm obviously highly biased against them because my team got affected the worst from all of them. We basically had a fucking finalist get kicked out of WCS because of rule changes. So that wasn't any fun. But I think now you've only got basically 3 Koreans in WCS Worlds. You get less opportunities to see that foreigner versus Korean. And that's kind of a shame. Outside of Violet bombing out, did he even play? I can't remember. No, he did play. He took 2 maps from someone. Yeah, he beat Major 2-1. And then he got slapped around by Bunny, and he got slapped around by Mana as well. So he wasn't exactly looking in great form. But outside of that, 4GG dropped 1 map the entire tournament until he ran into Polt. He slaughtered both of his groups. And Hydra dropped 1 map until he ran into Polt as well. Literally. He got to the finals, didn't drop any maps in the round of 8 bracket onwards. And then, got beat by Polt only just because Polt is Polt. And when Polt's behind, that means he's winning. But it's, I don't know. It does kind of suck to see less foreigner versus Korean matchups. And just, it seems like the foreigners are relegated to, well, before the round of 4, you can have some playtime. But now it's the Koreans' turn. So just let them.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go a little more in depth into that for the foreign scene and the region locking and all that. But before we move on to that, let's talk about Polt and Hydra, right? So as we saw, Polt, he took every match in the round of 8 onward. He took it to the very, brink of how many matches he had to win. Like it was 2-3, 2-3, all the way through. So, but Hydra sliced through, like you said. So do you have any thoughts on that, TotalBiscuit? And are we seeing, because we saw the games between Polt and Hydra, are they evenly matched and there was just bracket luck? Like, what does that speak to anything about their skill?
I don't know about that. I mean, Polt pulls this almost constantly. It's almost to the point where I think he's doing it on purpose. He always drops maps and he looks like he's going to lose, then he comes back. Hydra just relentlessly slaughtered everybody until he ran into Polt, which is actually kind of a surprise because Hydra wasn't looking in amazing form before this WCS, and then he just kills everybody,
right?
Which I think is surprising for a lot of people. I don't know how evenly matched they are, but you got to bear in mind Polt's matchup historically against Zerg is always played like that. He's the most annoying, tenacious son of a bitch you have ever seen versus Zerg. He refuses to die. So I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can call them evenly matched. Obviously, it was 4-3, so you'd probably see that. But did Polt get the easier half of the bracket? I don't know about that. He got 4GG and barely won, and Bunny put up a great fight there as well. So it's hard to say. I don't know. I think that's the kind of question you want to field to the pros.
Yeah.
You can kind of analyze it in more detail.
Yeah. What do you think, Todd?
Sorry, I was faced that for a second.
No worries. Do you think that Polt and Hydra, do you think their run from the round of 8 on, and then their performance in the finals speaks to, are they on different skill levels and Polt just really fought his way hard, or are they evenly matched?
Well, I think they are evenly matched. The score in the finals showed us that. Do you mean like from the rest and the foreigners, or?
Yeah.
I want to say yes, but I feel like TLO making it to the round of 8 was a big upset, and I wasn't really surprised that Hydra beat him like he did. Showtime versus Hydra, that surprised me because Showtime had been playing really well, and it just felt like he was overthinking his match against Hydra a lot, and he just lost 0-3, like playing builds and going into it with the game plan that I thought was really, really bad. So if you look at Hydra versus Showtime, you're like, oh yeah, Korean beats foreigner 3-0, but I don't think it really speaks to how this match could have gone, And also, even looking at the brackets, TB mentioned that Polt beat 4GG in the quarterfinals, and that's why maybe we didn't have 4GG in the round of 4, and that's true. But at the same time, Snoot played against Bunny, so arguably the 2 best foreigners, they eliminated each other. So there would have been some room for maybe Snoot to do some damage, maybe against Hydra, maybe against Polt, if that hadn't happened. I really feel like there is a gap between Koreans and the fews that would be tournament and foreigners, but there is definitely a few top guys out there. I'm thinking particularly about Snoot and Bunny that can beat them, from time to time. I wouldn't go as far as saying on a regular basis because most of the time they still kind of struggle against them. And then there is other guys like Kane and Showtime that are, practicing hard and doing their best, to rise to this level.
Okay.
What do we think about this is the first WCS season with this new system that has, for all intents and purposes, it's an attempt to inject more foreigners in the event. Did we find it less exciting? Did we find it as exciting, more exciting? And I don't know because I didn't watch it that carefully. But how is the viewership? Did the viewership suffer with less Koreans, or was it
really good? Like, wasn't it? I can't remember if it was Carmack that said it best viewership since 2013 for a WCS. Yeah. But I mean, I wonder why that is. Because I mean, you had a Korean final, but you still had great numbers. You had Polt in it, who's kind of not really a Korean anyway. Like we've pretty much stolen him now. But you also had a great venue, a good crowd, great commentary team, and you put WCS on kind of at a time where interest in StarCraft's back on the rise because of the launch of the Legacy of the Void beta. So I think there's a lot of factors. I don't know what, because I mean, I was looking at the numbers for the round of 32 and the round of 16, and I'd say they looked about the same. Yeah, what we've seen in previous years, but the finals were really, really good. So I wonder if it's just a confluence of events. I wonder if we'll continue to see those numbers the way that they are. Yeah. It's difficult to say. I think you've got a very small sample size to work with there. But I think there's definitely renewed excitement within StarCraft because of Legacy of the Void, and that's probably injecting a great deal of enthusiasm in there.
I think it also might be not only the matchup in terms of players, like, that we get in the round of 8 and then in the finals, but also in terms of actual matchup, Terran versus Zerg. Like people
love their Terran versus Zerg matchup. Yeah, it's classic. Yeah.
Katowice wasn't too long ago, and it was a PvP finals. And I mean, I'm sorry, but it's not always the most interesting games.
Mm-hmm. To Maynard.
Francis understand and chat's says something good too. I think actually there's something huge about a live audience. I think back to when NASL managed some of the WCS finals as well in like Toronto. It was just a lot more exciting to have an event like WCS where the crowd is also in it, as opposed to some of these other WCS seasons where they weren't doing it with a live audience, or at least a large live audience. It was like a studio show, and it just didn't have the feeling of a grand final, and it wasn't as exciting, I think.
Yeah, in a studio show, I'd often rather they don't clap at all because it sounds a bit lame when they do. It's like, yes, like, okay. It's especially when they've got a, like, say, an unpopular Korean or like a Chinese player. Yeah. Nobody has any idea who they are. It's like, oh, this is just embarrassing. Let's not see it. Someone also made a comment in the chat that there was maybe a combination of NA and EU viewership as well. And there's definitely a split, because we saw that WCS NA never got the views of WCS Europe. Now, the question you've got to ask is that because there are less NA viewers? Is it a time slot issue where NA was running too late for Europe? But if you look at it the other way around, the Americans could still watch the European show. I've always found the best slot that you can get is weekend afternoon, so it's kind of in the evening in Europe. And so you've got the American audience as well. You do shut out the Chinese if you do that, which, as we've discovered, like for SanDisk in particular, the Chinese audience was massive. But you get a good viewership nonetheless. And the later you run it in the night, the worse it gets. I mean, you see that with GSL, obviously, because GSL's on at a time where nobody can fucking comfortably watch it. Right. Unless you're Australian, of course, in which case, if you're Maynard, you got absolutely beautiful GSL to watch in glorious 240p.
Yep.
Oh, man. So, even when I've subscribed to GSL. I've always subscribed to GSL even before. Like I got personal issues with the paywall thing, like locking to low. I think is
they're fixing it to medium now, aren't they? Which I think is a bit more.
Well, they said they would, but they haven't yet.
Oh, have they not? Oh, they're still running Code A.
The technology is just simply not there yet, guys.
It's just simply not there yet.
Yeah.
No, but like, I mean, I can't watch any better than low anyway.
Internet.
But I subscribe because I love StarCraft and I like to support them. But I still felt like it was a really dirty move from GSL. But anyway, Lycan, you were going to ask something.
Oh yeah. So from you, now maybe this was just, I don't know, maybe it was the hype of all the foreigners. Maybe it was just the increased passion for the Legacy of the Void beta coming out. I don't know, but overall, was this weekend? It seemed like the games were really awesome. Like just all across the board, we had some amazing StarCraft all the way through the tournament.
That's correct. Yes.
Was there anything that in particular stuck out to you throughout the tournament? Any particular game or series?
I thought that the final game between Bunny and Snoot was the greatest foreigner, game of StarCraft, not just TVZ, that I've seen that I can remember. Like, Snoot versus Bunny, the two best foreigners in that tournament, arguably. But I would say, like, I was actually, when I was tweeting about it, I was like, oh, this is the best foreign game of StarCraft you'll see. Tune in right now. And I mean, really, the final, like, the series was all mostly disappointing. Like, there was a few not so great games, but then the final game, really, like on Deadwing, was, I loved it, man. It was it's just everything that TVZ and HOTS has all been about. But to go back to like what you were saying about the culmination of what made WCS good and the rise of interest in StarCraft, like obviously Legacy of the Void has a lot to do with it, but I kind of felt like even in like Taipei or when I was doing an international, like I don't do too many international tournaments at all. Like I can count them all on one hand, but it kind of felt like as a fan of the game and also being at these events that there was just a little bit of interest starting to build very slowly and healthily for StarCraft. Like it was before hashtag Signs of the Beta. It was just the games in the finals were starting to not be crap. Like it was starting to just feel like people were slowly coming around and you could see like more threads pop up. Like I don't go to Reddit, but I follow the StarCraft Reddit account on Twitter, and I see a lot of like, "Hey, I'm new to StarCraft, help me out," and the threads aren't garbage. Like
yes,
like I felt like the game was starting.
They're still there though. They're still there.
I mean, it's Reddit, right? So there's a reason I don't go there. I'm a very positive guy, and I care about my mental health. So I'm I don't take time
my
there.
therapist bills, I'm pretty sure 90% of that's just Reddit that caused all that shit.
Yeah. So, all right, that's a good segue, though, because the tournament was awesome. It was great to see the foreigners going through the top of the bracket. It was great to see live events again for these season finals. I was really excited about that. But we had gotten a little bit onto the topic earlier about region locking and, that we still have the Koreans here. And I do want to go into that now. I had brought this topic up a couple shows ago, and I said, hold on, let me wait until WCS is done so I can see the final points distribution. And so I'm going to switch the screen now, and I'm going to bring up that spreadsheet that I sent you guys. And if you still have that document, it's there. So I had a buddy. He went on to the WCS point standings, and he took these the points, and we took out all of SSL and GSL Season 2 points. And these are now the standings. So what I'm showing you guys on the screen right now are the points currently with SSL, right? And so the only foreigners we have, people playing, so foreigners as in people playing in the foreign WCS regions. The only people we have.
Can we just lock this now and just have that as BlizzCon? Because holy shit, that lineup.
Yeah, goddamn.
I would watch the hell out of a tournament with that lineup.
Well,
Are you kidding me?
All right, now let's look at this, though. Without SSL points, in the top 16, we have Bunny, Showtime. I know you would say that if you look at Bunny and Showtime amongst the other people that are up here, but we also have Polt and Hydra. That is, I feel there would be a little more hype about that because you have those two foreigners and then, Hydra and Polt as well in the top 16. And then look at how close everyone else is to this now. There are so many people that still have a chance. This is only now. There's still some of these guys that could really have a breakout down the line in an IEM or a DreamHack that could get their way into. Well,
keep in mind it's just April.
It is. Yeah. But without the SSL points, it drastically changes it. With the SSL points,
is this called Lycan hates SSL? Is that what
I don't hate SSL. I hate how much it gives points that are completely unavailable. You say, yeah, well, the foreigners could fly there, but they're not. It's not feasible.
Well, here's the thing. So here's the response to that. The problem leading into this that everyone had was Koreans have to flood foreigner events because the competition in Korea is so fucking brutal that if you're not winning in GSL code S, then you are not doing anything at all. You're sitting at home, probably getting devalued, making slave wages and working away your life. So what they did is they made the SSL, they made Pro League. Well, Pro League was before that, and then they still kept the GSL. Like, there's now multiple options for Koreans to be competitive and do well. And WCS is like the lifeblood of StarCraft, so you still have to have access to that for these Koreans. So there has to be points to incentivize both the league for value, but also for the Koreans. So it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I'm going to steal John. He's going to interrupt. Or he's going to try to say something in a second. I agree with him 100% in that this is the better of the two devils, that Koreans are being rewarded for their skill They're being rewarded for their efforts. And the few foreigners that have the ability, like look at the names we're mentioning, Snoot, Bunny, Kane. Those are the most relevant, best foreigners right now. Showtime. They're on the precipice of that. Do they have to go to Korea and compete there to win those WCS points? Probably not. But they need to attend your upcoming Dream Hacks. They need to attend all the IEMs. Like, they have to go out and do what the Koreans had to do.
And it's easier for them to do it anyway. You know, if you want to see the amount of money we spent on flights last year, you'll see that being a European foreigner, being able to access all of these European tournaments that all have points. I mean, hell, you can get access to stuff like Home Story Cup, which is, for all intents and purposes, an invitational, and get a bunch of WCS points just for that. And you can just hop over the border to go and do that. Whereas opposed to spending $2,000 to get to Crefeld from Korea. It's much, much easier. They get sent to all of these foreign tournaments anyway. And more to the point, these are the guys that are going to be placing highly in WCS Worlds every single time, unless they flump for whatever reason. So we're looking at points after Season 1. They've got more Worlds to go. That's going to give them yet more points. And then you're going to see people like, if we look at some of the guys down the bottom there, you've got people like Ty, you've got people like Solkey and Super and Trap and Terminator and Dia. These guys who are not really going to a lot of foreign tournaments, probably won't get to a lot of foreign tournaments, and they're relying pretty much entirely now on doing well in Korea, which is a shark pit, by the way. It is ridiculous. There are far more talented players in Korea than can fit in those leagues. Code A is a crap shoot. It's like you flip a coin, you roll a D20, and you see if you get random third place guy that came from the afternoon qualifier or fucking SOS. And you get to play a best of 5 against that player, and that determines whether or not you go into Code S. You know, and then you see what crazy, insane group of death you end up getting there.
And by the way, the random third place guy is oftentimes in Korea actually more dangerous than SOS, by the way, because they're the 9-year-old that's upcoming with 900 APM, and like they're the monster.
This fucking cyborgs, yeah. It's you know, Korea is still really, really hard. Like, adding SSL in there has made it somewhat viable and meant that half the Koreans didn't retire this year, you know? And there's still probably a bunch of them that will. It helps. It's still not enough. I mean, there's a reason why there's a bunch of online tournaments that are cropping up to try and help a lot of the other Koreans out. But ultimately, these guys are better. You know, pretty much that top 16 that you showed us, they're better than every foreigner. All of them.
So do you think that then BlizzCon should be top 16 best in the world and not like...
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I agree.
So I differ on that. I do think, I mean, idealistically, yes. And I think if you were to put a gun in my head, I would say yes as well. But my asterisk to that would be, I like the current system that is more fair to Koreans, but still has on some level, the natural exclusivity for foreigners that need, not just, they need that kind of leg up to be competitive, but also the fake, I guess, the artificial inseminated advantage for them as well, where like in this last WCS, would TLO ever make a top 8 in the previous WCSs that had like 25 Koreans at it? Probably not. But in this tournament he did. It was really exciting for him and his fans, and it was really good for the tournament as well. And then there's the foreigners that do, you know, that are truly incredible and capable of taking series off big name Koreans, like your Bunny, like your Showtime in his current state, and others. And I do want to see them at a BlizzCon. And if we just like dropped off, if we like took all the WCS players and sprinkled them in an open bracket tournament, a single 512 person tournament, would any foreigner make the top 100? I guess if they had the luckiest bracket in the history of mankind, but otherwise, no. It would be top 225 Koreans. You know, like it would be insane butchery. So if you're a purist, you would say, well, that's fine. I want nothing but Koreans. But for me, as a person that knows the impact foreigners have on tournaments and for the scene, how important it is that foreigners have a chance, just a fucking chance, I would tell you that this system is getting closer to the mark, and I think it's good.
Yeah,
I think they do.
You have to bear in mind now that WCS Worlds, without Violet, basically has 3 Koreans in it. You've got a higher chance of getting more points from each individual WCS tournament than you did previously. If you're in WCS NA, which had 17 Koreans in it, then your chance of actually earning any worthwhile point value at all, because you'd probably be killed in the round of 32, was fairly minimal. Now, you can reach round of 4 because there are literally only 3 Koreans. So some foreigners got to be in the top 4, right? Yeah, I think that you do have opportunities. Plus, your innate advantage of being able to travel to all these dream hacks and not have your team have to spend $2,000 every time you want to go to a tournament. I think, if you work hard, you've got probably more opportunities now than you did previously.
So So you wouldn't like to see an 8-8, everyone else 8 Koreans. So 8 foreign WCS, 8 Koreans at BlizzCon.
Well, I'd like to see the 16 best players.
Okay.
Yeah, if the other 8 deserve to be there and they're all foreigners, then yeah, absolutely.
They talked about that. I would not like that structure where it's like you're guaranteed 8 foreigners. No, I definitely think they should have to earn it. But I do like a system that gives them a slight leg up that, like John was talking about, it's already naturally there. Like you have access to your home story cups. We look at this last WCS season finals. That was made possible because of region locking. Like the steps have already been taken, but I would not like a tournament where they're like, I'm sorry, you're Korean, you cannot participate in this, get the fuck out. And then it's guaranteed 8 foreigners. That would delegitimize the epicness of BlizzCon, which is supposed to be that these are the best players.
Yeah, I think if you're going to have BlizzCon be the tip-top, then it's got to be the tip-top. You can't artificially segregate people and give people a leg up. We already have that. I complained about this last year where I said, look at these guys at the top that had so many points and got wiped out like the round of 16. I can't remember examples. I think it was like Hyun and MC had artificially huge amounts of points because they were on one-person teams and they got flown to every single event. So they were able to gather, and they got invites as well. Like IEM gave them invites, Home Story Cup gave them invites, and they got points from every one of those. And that was really annoying to me because that to me was a popularity contest because those guys got wrecked. They got slapped around. And they weren't on the level of the big Kesper guys, but they got to travel more than the big Kesper guys. So they naturally have access to more WCS points. So, there's already plenty of problems with the way the WCS points are distributed. I don't personally think that this is one of them, though.
Okay. Maynard, we saw a huge, there was that energy about WCS. We've already talked about that with the finals and all that. Do you think that we should still consider pushing for full region locking? Or because next year I think we're going to have a couple more Koreans in the scene. I don't know if they were confirmed. I heard some things on Remax yesterday. But I don't see it being unlikely that a lot of Koreans start working towards getting visas to go, live in Europe or America.
Or China. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think we need to, with the positivity we saw, do we need to find, move towards a more finalized, complete region locking?
I mean, I don't own a team of Koreans. That so I can't.
I wear my bias on my sleeve.
Yeah. So I'm saying just because I am a fan and TB's very honest about his opinion and he's got a lot of valid stuff to say about that as a team owner of Koreans, that the new system does screw you over very heavily. But as a fan, I actually really like the current format. I would like to give for them to just do this for another year. I mean, tweak it a little bit, pepper in a Korean here and there, but don't just let them get visas naturally and move if they really, really want to make the commitment to be in another region and legitimately be a part of the system that way, then great. But I actually really, really like the system this year. I think SSL is fantastic. I think more giant tournaments in Korea is great. Giving the Koreans more of a shot is great. It's great. It's healthy for the game for more Koreans to get those points. And I think that, honestly, it's been brought up already. It's April. There's still 7 months or so until BlizzCon, and there's going to be a lot of international tournaments with a lot of foreigners are going to get a lot of points. And I would not be shocked at all to see 2 or maybe 3 foreigners in the top 16. Probably not any more than that. I mean, Bunny and Showtime and Snoot absolutely deserve to be there, and I would not be shocked to see either of those 3 in the top 16 based on what the WCS performance. I personally thought that Bunny and Polt was very, very close, and I think that even if Bunny got to Hydra, he would have had a really good shot, and it would have been still winning sick finals. And obviously the viewership would have been huge as well because it would be the first. I mean, we saw that bracket and I was like, holy shit. I was Skyping my friends like, this is the first legitimate shot of a foreigner being in the final that I've seen in such a long time. And it's not like they're getting spoon-fed a final either. They're actually, it is actually a really tough bracket. These aren't just, like with WCSNA, the finals or the foreigners and there, they just, didn't have the hype around it. It didn't have the attention that it could have had. But this kind of format with the top 16 just being like the Europe, America all pulled together, even my boy Australia, and even Pig had a shot. So there's a lot of Australians getting amongst it, which is something I don't think we've ever had a chance to cheer a guy getting into the round of 8 of Premier League. Like, it's really good. Like, and also the analyst guys got to build up your home country storylines,
right,
and the player storylines as well, which is something that's really rare because normally it's just like, well, he's from Korea and he's Korean and he's here to play this tournament and this is his rivalry in Korea. But having that sort of the countries camaraderie, like all of your countrymen get together and barrack for a guy, and I think that's what the World Championship Series is all about. Like, it's the World Championship Series, and it's good to see more people around the world being a part of it. And like at the final stage, I mean, obviously they're there at the beginning, but
yeah, and I think the numbers definitely prove there's obviously interest there somewhere, even if it was a Korean final. But ultimately, the Korean final kept the numbers. You didn't see a big drop off. You didn't see just run away. It's like, damn, there's no white guys left. Fuck, gotta leave now. That didn't happen. Yeah, I think I think your point about slow integration is probably pretty good. Obviously, it fucks my guys over, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
We'll get more sponsors. We'll go to more foreign events. It's that simple. We'll always find a way around it. But the point is, as you slowly integrate like Koreans into it, you do give foreigners a bigger shot. You also give them a chance to build those people up. A lot of what I was saying, I think in the started in the pre-show here, I can't even bloody remember now. But when you have these Koreans who are maybe not very popular in that studio environment, when literally no one's clapping, that's just horrible. I think it would be great if everyone that was in that round of 32, everyone had their own fan base, everyone came from their own country, they all had their own unique spin to offer, their own unique play style and audience. That's great. I think that keeping it the way that it is for now, it's going to hurt. And whatever you do is going to hurt some people, right? So
yeah, you can't keep everyone happy. You
can't make
no system that makes everything.
Eggs, Just bring more tournaments to Korea so Koreans have more opportunities. They can always go to the international events and win them anyway. And currently, WCS has good numbers. There's been good games. People have been enjoying it. Watching Foreigner versus Foreigner is fun. It's not like watching Gold League versus Gold League. It's nonsense. And wasn't it Destiny that made that point that people keep disagreeing with? It's like that your average viewer can't tell the difference between a random GM and like a Korean versus a Korean. I don't know if that's necessarily like 100% true, but the fact of the matter is the games were still fun.
Yeah,
that's all. There were some good games. They're playing on a high enough level to be entertaining. So people obviously want to watch it. That's great. And that crowd was fantastic. Toronto is going to be great. Fucking Canadian crowd.
Yeah, holy shit.
Phenomenal. Looking forward to that. Get the French involved in more stuff. They're awesome. Best crowd in France, absolutely phenomenal.
Speaking of
good.
Yeah, speaking of French, Todd, what are your thoughts on the
as the official representative of La France?
Exactly. What are your thoughts on the region locking? I'm just curious what you think about it. Like the current state, do you think it's good the way it is? Do you think it should be completely region locked? What are your thoughts?
I think, was it on your show that I spoke about this last time? Like that I explained this idea that I had where players who play in a certain region of WCS, I think should be, like there should be a rule that says that they should practice in that region on ladder, which will not only fix the barcode problem, but also give an opportunity for everybody to, practice equally. Because even now, like I think this last WCS, it was great. A lot of foreigners did well. The Koreans that were in there, they kind of eliminated each other. Then they met in the finals. And, they played better. But at the same time, I can't help but think that's, guys like Pauls, guys like Hydra, they don't particularly practice all that much with the foreigners. Like, be it, the Europeans or American players that they play in the same WCS with, which I think is one of the major flaws of the system right now. So as much as I think, this has been good, the changes that, have been applied to WCS, I still think like there is still a lot of stuff like this that I would like to see, but I feel like maybe it's a little bit too unrealistic to expect.
It's hard to enforce, isn't it? Because, they were able to do it with the wildcard system where they required like 200 wins on a week. But if you're not doing wildcard, how the hell do you enforce a player? It's like, how many do they have to have a certain number of hours, a certain number of games on?
Games. And I think wins
would it
too.
be on NA or would it be on Europe?
On both, I think. Like depending on which region you play originally, you know, going to the round of 32. Say if a certain player or if all the players were like they had to win a certain amount of games on that server and they could not smurf, they would have to use their real ID. I think you not only fix partly the barcode problem, but you also like give everybody an opportunity, you know, play against each other, try hard, build up some meta game going into the finals. Whereas, you know, like right now, it's much better than right now. Like right now, everybody, you know, scrambling around, playing on different servers. Some people play on Europe from USA, they play in Korea from USA. It doesn't really make sense. Everybody's barcoding. You have absolutely no metagame. If you play against somebody that doesn't have too much, you know, VOD content out there, you can't have any idea of what to expect. I think it would be much better this way. Like also even watching streams, like, you know, the numbers in StarCraft are down, or like they've been going down for the most part, not just in tournament, but even in terms of streams. Like you watch somebody streaming, he's only playing barcodes all day. Like it's fucking boring to watch somebody, you know, play faceless opponents the entire time. Whereas if you apply this rule, I would think it would be amazing to watch, you know, somebody like TLO stream and play like Showtime and all these guys on the European ladder all day, Lil Bo.
Yeah, I mean, and your point's made valid because every time you do actually see two big guys clash on ladder, there's always a post on Reddit. It's like, get the fuck in here, you know, Morpheus. That does make watching the player streams a lot more fun.
As somebody that does stream, yeah, I mean, I see that happen all the time. When I used to stream, if I run into somebody popular on ladder, the numbers will start to build as the game goes on, and everybody will be like, oh, who's he playing? Yeah, so that should definitely happen. Yeah.
Oh my God, Destiny's here.
Hey, what's up?
Where the fuck have you been?
It's kind of chilling.
Good question.
All right, cool. So that's going to wrap up the first half of our show, folks. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we have a whole bunch more to talk about. We're going to get down on we're going to talk about G2A. We'll talk about Shoutcraft Clan Wars, and then we're going to get some further impressions, first impressions from TotalBiscuit, and further impressions from the guys who've been playing it for a week that we talked about last week. See who has different thoughts from last week, and if we can find a defense for everyone to leave the Cyclone alone, because I like it the way it is. So more of that when we come back. More of that.
I mean it in a loving way.
I love you too. All right, we'll be right back with more late game after these quick messages.